Hello, my math friends. This is Mrs. Schlecht, and in this video, we are going to look at graphing proportional relationships. All right, my friends, you know that there's a few materials you're going to need in order to be successful for this activity, correct? First, you're going to need that Envision textbook with our little robot buddy on the front. Second, you're going to need your math notebook to take those beautiful notes, people. Third, you're going to need that pencil. And fourth, last but never, ever, ever least, that positive math attitude. All right, my friends, so this video goes with lesson 2-5, which is in your Envision text. And that lesson goes over graphing these proportional relationships. The key concepts page, one of Mrs. Schlecht's favorites, is on page 122. All right, my friends, before we start looking at examples in your book, let's kind of just backtrack really quick and let's just work on a proportion. So we're going to go back to a table, all right? I have my X, which we can kind of think of as the in, right? So I'm putting something in. My output is Y, right? I'm getting something out. And my rule is that I'm going to multiply by 2. So whatever my X is, I'm going to multiply it by 2, and then that is going to give me my Y. So if my X is -1, my output, remember I have to multiply it by 2, so my output would be -2. If my input is 0, if I multiply 0 by 2, what would my output be? Yeah, it would be 0, right? You know that, my friends, because anytime you take 0 and you multiply it by any number, it's still going to be 0. All right, now my X is a +2, so what would my output be? You're right, it would be a +4 because I took 2, I just multiplied it by 2, and that would give me my +4. Let's try one more point. And my last set of this proportional relationship, my friends, is that I put 3 in for my X, and I got out 6 for my Y, again, because our rule is multiplying by 2. So my friends, real quick, I just made a quick table. It's not in your book. This was just something from Mrs. Schlecht land, right? I made a table so that we were able to show that proportional relationship. All right, my friends, so we have our input, we have our output. I'm going to actually put those two together, the X and the Y, to make ordered pairs. All right, so we had our X, which is our input, our Y, which was our output. Remember, my rule was that I took whatever my X was and I multiplied it by 2, and that gave me my Y, correct? So then what I did, my friends, is I just wrote each of these different inputs and outputs as ordered pairs because I can now actually graph this, right? So that's what I'm going to do. All right, my friends, so over here I have a grid. I know it's kind of tiny, but this is actually grid paper. And I already split it into our 4 quadrants, right? So again, this is my X axes, and then this is my Y axes going up and down, right? And my beautiful friends, since we have now made these ordered pairs, what we're going to do is we're going to now plot them onto our actual grid. So first, let's plot -1, -2. I know it's kind of tiny, my friends, but trust me, right here to -1, -2. Our next point is 0, 0. Which you know is the point of origin, my friends. That's where the x-axis and the y-axis, that's where they meet. Check it out, point of origin. All right, our next pair, our next ordered pair, +2, +4. So right there, that was our next point, +2, +4. And our last one, my friends, is +3, +6. All right, my friends. So again, I know this is kind of tiny, but what we did was we had 4 points, right? -1, -2, 0, 0, 2, 4, 3, and 6. And what I did is I just plotted them on my coordinate grid. Now, here is some really cool math magic, all right? Do you remember that we said this was proportional, right? Because we are using multiplication to get from our X value to get to our Y value, correct? So when we are graphing proportions, my friends, guess what it looks like? Oh my goodness, it's a straight line. Not just any straight line, it's a straight line that goes directly through that point of origin. All right, my friends, let's chat real quick, all right? Let's have a little chit chat, my friends. So it is totally possible, like we just did, to take a proportion and to graph that relationship, right? The way that we did it is we made up pairs, honestly. So like -1, 0, 2, and 3. They just came from my Mrs. Schlecht brain. That's it. And then that rule times 2, Also just came from my Mrs. Schlecht brain, right? But I knew that was proportional, and I wanted to do that, my friends, so then we could get our ordered pairs, which were proportional, and then we could actually plot it, right, on our line. So here are a couple different things, okay? If a relationship is proportional and you graph it, it will always be a straight line, okay? Straight line. And not just a straight line, but a straight line that also goes through that point of origin, which is 0, 0. So 0, 0 right here is my point of origin. Notice that this proportion that we just graphed, my friends, goes right through it, right? There are some points before I get to 0, 0. There are some points after I get to 0, 0. But they're all in that same line. All right, my friends, so now that we kind of have this idea, let's look at example number 3 on page 121. All right, so in example number 3, my friends, it gives us 3 different graphs, right? And we're just asked, just by looking at it, is it proportional or is it not proportional? So again, going back to this graph, in order for a proportion to be graphed, right, it has to go through that center point, which is 0, 0, and it's a straight line. So let's look at example number 3. All right, so for that first graph in problem number 3 or example number 3, right, it gives us a graph that looks pretty similar to that proportional relationship that we already graphed, but it's a little bit lower to the ground. It's not as steep, right? But is this still proportional? Yeah, it's totally still proportional, right? Because not only is it a straight line, but that straight line also goes through that point of origin, which is 0, 0. Let's check out the second graph. All right, let's look at this blue line. This will represent that second graph in example number 3. Now, I know it's a straight line, right? And that was one of our requirements for graphing a proportional relationship on our coordinate plane, right? What was that second piece? Oh yeah, it also had to go through 0, 0, that point of origin. Now look at this blue line. Does that go through my point of origin? It does not. Therefore, my friends, that second graph, it's not a proportion. Okay, really quick. You ready? Okay, so you notice how like the blue line, how it kind of goes down more so, like the other lines are kind of like going up, but then the blue line kind of goes down a little bit, right? The direction, that piece doesn't matter. It can still be a proportion if it starts like the opposite direction. But the biggest piece is it does not go through that origin, that 0, 0 point. Therefore, that blue line, not a proportion, right? Again, the direction of it doesn't so much make sense, doesn't really matter so much, but it has to go through that point of origin, and that's what disqualifies it. All right, and one more graph that's in example number 3, all right? And it's a green line. It might be kind of hard to see, but my green line starts out right here, and then it like turns and it goes up. Is that a proportional relationship? Nope, not at all. You're right, of course it's not, right? Not only is it not a straight line, right? It like totally like curves right here, but does it go through our special little spot, our little point of origin? It does not, my friends. Therefore, that green line, not a proportion. All right, my friends. So I know that was a very short video, but that's really the big thing of lesson 2-5 is that yes, we can graph these proportional relationships. And the way that you can tell if we have indeed graphed a proportion, 2 ways. 1, it's got to be a straight line. And 2, that straight line has to go through the point of origin, which is 0, 0, right? 0 on our y-axis and 0 on our x-axis, all right? As always, my friends, if you have any other questions, please let me know.